Hello and welcome to Scalemodeling, and welcome to part 1 of our USS Reuben James 1350th scale model from Academy build. If you'd like to see the unboxing and review of this I did, that'll be in the playlist, and I'll put a link up in the corner there as well, so you can go back and check that out. So here we are, first ship I built in a while. I'm really looking forward to it. And first of all, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It costs nothing to hit that button, and you'll get notifications of when my videos go out, as well as my live streams every weekend. Also, give us a thumbs up if you like video, and your comments are welcome below. So let's get on with it. Unfortunately, this is the second time I've done this recording. I couldn't believe my bad luck. I used OBS Studio, and it's the first time this has ever happened to me. I had 20 minutes, nearly half an hour of recording on there, and it crashed on me. And there was no backup. I lost the recording. So what we're going to do is, basically, this is not an unopened box, of course. We're going to jump to where I'm at, which is this. Let me show you what you missed out on. Not too much. If anything, just a few important things you need to know. A couple of mistakes I made, and mistakes made in the manual, and a few other things, and how I've done things. So first of all, the first step here was the instructions, and we got to put the two sides of the hull together. What I also did was I took all the parts on the sprues, and I've washed them all in warm soapy water, rinsed them off, and let them all dry before I started any of this. Okay. All right, now, most of the products I use are by IckySticky.com. The link will be in the description below. That includes things like nano micro glass files here. I've got a few of those, fantastic, and a few other things that I use. About 80% of my equipment here is Icky Sticky products. So these two parts need to be glued. Now, there's this part here, which is unusual. This gives you the option to create a water-based line, all right? Which really is impossible, because they're telling you to cut all the bottom of the hull around there, and then they have a separate piece to go in the bottom there to make it waterline. Well, you can't, all right? Trust me, you don't want to do that, all right? There's nothing there. If you try and cut that, and like they show, they actually have the picture there using this. So don't go and try and cut around the hull using your hobby scalpel there, all right? Wow. I mean, there is a line on the inside going around, but it's just way too much damage is going to happen if you try and attempt that. So that being the case, we're building the full hull version. All right. Now, what I've done was I found it a little bit difficult holding the pieces together. They're very nowhere to really clamp and do it. I tried putting pegs on here, but they just slip off. So what I've decided to do is I'm gluing a section at a time. And what I've used is the Revell contactor, and I've just run that down in there. There are connecting points where you can line up, and it goes together well. It's really good. What I'll do is, when I get through, and it's been an hour now for all the trouble I'm doing other stuff to dry that bit, then I'll glue this bit, and then I'll do the front. And it goes together quite well. There's not going to be hardly any mark down there, probably a little bit light bit of sanding, and that's all. It's important to get the sprue marks off where you've disconnected them from the sprue. Make sure they're smooth and flat, which is why I use a nano file. These are really, really good. Okay, so that's that. The other thing we had to do was put on the back here, because there's an extension piece here that's going to sit and be glued onto there. Okay, that's fine. And then there's this little part which will sit inside there, which again, it's fine. Okay, but this is where I ran into that's going to go in there. But this is where I've run into a problem. This is the piece we need to use. Notice square, not round. Okay, notice this to there, perfectly. Perfect. So the problem is that there are two little notches there and there, which I discovered when I got the deck and test fitted it and placed the deck. They come up to those two little notches on the inside there. So that's in the right position, right? This will go under there and into there like that. Now the problem I'm having, just take that back out, is the lip around here that this sits in, right, needs to be cut off, basically. We need to get in there and cut that down and sand that down flat. Otherwise, if I try to put that in there, okay, it's sticking up, look, because of that lip there. Okay, so that's the mistake they've made. All right. I'm confident when I've sanded that down, that's going to sit down there flush and we'll have no problem. What I thought was maybe there was another piece. And I went through the sprue and I found this piece. And what do you know, if you go and put that in there, look at that. That fits perfectly. And I thought, well, we'll just use that part then. There must have been a modification from the original model before this this special edition one was brought out, where they've decided to add this part on the end. So maybe this was added on the ship, or I don't know the details, but you know. But the problem is you can't use that part. I mean, you could leave that off, like I thought I could just leave that off, and there we go, done. The problem is when you go and check your decals, okay, this is where the helicopter landing area is on here. This decal, the way it's shaped, doesn't match. Doesn't match the markings that are on this piece here. Okay, it's not going to fit. But it does fit this one. It does fit this one, right? So we need to use this piece. And then when I went to the instructions and I looked at these ones here with the detailed up version, there it is there. Okay. But it doesn't show, it only shows the decal sitting on there, which it will do if we use that correct piece, this piece here. But what I realized was over here, there's this little black square. And this little black square tells you the unused parts. And the very first one is B2. And B2 just happens to be this one that fits in there. Okay, so this part we don't use, okay? Say goodbye to that. I'm thinking of going through all the sprues and removing all the parts that are unused just to stop myself getting confused in future. But of course, going by the instructions, it simply said B40. Okay, B40 is this part. So it's a little bit confusing. If this was added later, then why, where's this part? This part's not in the instructions. This must be a new instructions as well. Otherwise, it would show this part, because nowhere in the instructions does it say to use this part. That just confuses things a little bit. So anyway, so what the process is now that I'm up to is, like I said, I'm going to glue that. I was going to glue these in as well, just to help get the shape right, but or this part in, but I can't because I've got to cut and do all this. So I want to make sure that hull is all glued up properly and it's all dried before I start sanding and cutting on the back, so that this fits in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, do all that. That's where we're up to. That's what I got done before the my editing program crashed. I'll continue on. Okay, cheers guys, and don't forget, what I'll also do is I'll do some updates on the laptop as well and make sure all my drivers and everything are up to date. Make sure this program's up to date, because that's literally never happened before. And what I'll also do is I won't record in such long stretches of 20-30 minutes. I'll try and do every 10 minutes, saving my recordings. just in case, because I don't want to lose the whole lot if it happened again, touch wood. Anyway, back shortly, guys. Okay, so let's have a look at some progress here. The hull is glued. I need to give it, I've only just finished it about 10 minutes ago, doing around the bow there, but it went together beautifully. I mean, that is spot on, lined up beautifully, right to the tip, so no problem at all. All I did was just held it in place. This Revell contactor, brilliant stuff, that's all you need. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for a little bit, and then I'll run some more of this all the way down on the inside, just as an extra level of security. Just also remembering that there's 2 drill hole marks there. This is going to have to be drilled out for the stand. So try not to put glue in those if you can, because it just might make that a little bit more difficult, but that shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, really gone together really well. Once I run a file across there and just sand it a little bit and get it smooth, it should be fine. It's going to look really good. So in the meantime, I'm going to be waiting for this to dry before I start sanding anything here. After that, I'll be able to go and put these on. I was going to attach this on into here now, but I figure I might just wait because I want this to be no gap at all, so we could play around with a little bit there and make sure that fits in right. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going over to step 3 here, and the screw, or the propeller, we will call it a screw, we can put that on, but we won't put the actual the screw on itself, because that needs to be painted obviously a different color. So, but we can put these together, the supports, and get that sitting in there, because that's all going to be the whole red underneath. There's also the rudder there as well. So we should, now I'm just thinking I may not put that rudder on it also, because that is also something I usually leave off. This might be okay. I don't think it's going to stick up very far, but if you put that rudder in there, what's the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to end up with knocking that off while we're working on the rest of the ship. So it's best that, while at the moment I can keep it like this, yeah, I don't want to put that rudder on. So we'll hold off and wait on that. But let me get this on and get these parts off and get that on. All right. Okay, back again a second. All right, so got that on. Not a problem. A little bit fiddly, but once it went on, it was okay. And yeah, it looks good. Now, like I said, I won't put the screw on there. I'll do that separately because it's got to be painted probably a bronze color or iron, we'll see. But I have decided to put the rudder on because it doesn't stick up much higher than that, and it's probably going to protect that anyway, as you can see. So what I'll do is that's just going to pop into there like that. But I will just sand down there, just get that flat underneath, just so it's going to sit in there nicely and we're not going to see any gap from the side. But then again, there should be a bit of a gap under there, shouldn't there? Because after all, then again, this is meant to turn, so there should be a gap under there. It doesn't look like, it's not meant to look like it's fixed to the position there. So yeah, I think I'll leave that as is. I think that looks good. I'll glue that straight on there like that. All right, so I'll go ahead and do that, and then back again. I'll see what we'll do next. Okay, so what I've done is I drilled a hole into a little bit of spare plastic, and because the pin goes through into the hole and it sticks up a bit, I thought, well, if I put that on the top, glue it into a bit of plastic in there, then the rudder should be able to turn. So that's what I've done, and sure enough, the glue is still drying, but I can actually turn the rudder, and yet it's still in its right, nice firm position there. I just glued it into the hole in that little bit of plastic in there, without gluing the plastic down, of course. So now it rotates. So there we go. The rudder turns. Now, oh, and I used these Icky Sticky tungsten micro drill bit. drill bits, which come in quite a variety of sizes there. So they got you covered. So I don't remember what size. I think it was about 1.5 mil. I think I used for that. So what I've also done is I've done a layer of actually used some CA glue, some good. There it is again, Icky Sticky. Medium CA glue. I've run that down there as well. So that's going to be nice and secure when that dries. And I'm going to leave this whole thing overnight before I start handling it, because I need to cut this down and sand it and get that down level. So while that's happening, before I can do anything with these parts, we will move on in the instructions from this. Actually, I've got to remember to put these on the sides here too. But other than that, we go across, we can start on the superstructure here. There's quite a few pieces here. We've got to build all this up. So that looks really good. That's all going to go down on the deck, I assume. Yes, it will. There's one piece. So what I'll do is I'll get these pieces, this section here off, and we could probably get some of the sides done. I'll mark them as I go so I know I'm not going to miss anything. And slowly get them trimmed up and tidied up and sanded. Okay. All right. Back in a while. A bit more progress. Okay, so these are the major pieces taken off, and I just want to show you the detail. There's some quite good detail. As you can see there, this is the deck on the upper area above there, like probably the first deck above the actual deck of the ship. And there's a lot of holes in there. I'm glad I don't have to drill them. If this were a trumpeter kit, you'd have to drill all these holes. So that saves quite a lot of work. But we've got lots of detail in that, and especially on the side walls here. So that's going to actually sit on top like that after I tied it up and everything. But all along here looks really good, and I was looking at it. You can see the detail in that. Get the light to reflect. You can see you got all the vents for the grills, for the air conditioning units, and all piping in there, and ladders, you know, going up the side. I mean, it's detail on there. It looks really good. It would look fantastic once it's panel line washed and it's popping out a little bit, you know, and all that sort of weathering part of it. I was looking for any portholes or anything like windows or anything along there that I might be able to drill out, but there isn't any. There's no need to, so that's quite good. Same with along the ship itself, there are no actual portholes. Not yet, I haven't come across any. Because what I normally do there is I drill them out if they're not already, and then after I've done the painting and everything else, I'll come along with some MIG ammo, clear is what it's called, and just drop that in there. Just a white glue that dries clear would also work as well. And it just dries clear, as I say, and just gives that little glint of glass in there, just to get a nice little effect. But I don't think I'm going to need to do it on this ship. Maybe somewhere else there might be a spot. But in the meantime, all good. So what I'll do now is tidy all these parts up, trim these edges off and get them all done. See how we go. There's a lot more to it, of course. You can see here, this is where we're at. We've just taken off these major side parts and stuff here. There's more bits at the back here. There's a couple of platforms there on the level that go into those slots there. Pylons underneath, and all these vents and so forth that go on the top. So yeah, the majority of this ship is going to be grey, so we don't have to worry about brown decks or anything like that. It's all just going to be in the detailing and the weathering to bring things, make them pop out a bit. I'm just looking at it now and working out, you know, it's probably best to glue all these main parts that I've got off here now together, and then come along and pop all these pieces on. Or we could do them separately and then glue them together. It doesn't really matter. It's basically all going to go, as you can see here, all in one piece straight down on top of the deck there. Yeah. But as you can see in the end product here, we've got a mast to do, we've got the bridge area to do. There's still quite a bit to be done that I don't actually see on here yet. So that's got to be built up higher. Let me keep going. Be back again. Progressing nicely. Right, so now all the parts are all cleaned up. Everything's sanded. Very nice. I just can't get over the detail. It's really good. What I'm going to do now is, first of all, this part on the front here, I'm going to glue that on. It's pretty much going to sit just like that. Okay, and then we'll be able to put these on here, and we'll put the sides on. I'm going to use Mr. Cement here. So let's just make sure that's exactly in position there. That. And then we'll just run that across there. And we'll do what it's supposed to do. Cement that in place. It's fine. Now if we turn it up the other way now, we'll be able to put in this wall. Just do a quick test fit there. It's not going to be a problem at all. Okay. We'll just give that a chance to dry. And then we'll put that in. And back down here is the hangar deck where the helicopters would go in. There's also a couple of doors to go on there, which I'm going to look at whether I can position them open. Okay, I'll be back in a sec. All right, so we've got a bit more done. I've got all those walls on. That's what you call them. Yeah, they've gone on really well. Not a problem at all. Just used some instant cement. Got them on. Now, what I'm up to now is just putting in these side panels here, which pretty much locate straight in there like that. So there's one. And then we've got one to do on the other side. So I'll glue those in. And then we've got this part, which is the hangar bay door. I'm a little bit unsure how this goes. If I were to follow the instructions, it would tell me to put that in there like this. Okay. That one in there, that one in there. And put it like that. So there's two lines inside that you line it up with, one on each side there, and put it in, which puts it at a bit of an angle, although it is straight, because these are cut at an angle, you see that? So even though they're at an angle, it is straight up and down, right? Which leaves those little bits sticking out on the side, which doesn't look right because, well, that's what it says on the instructions. See, put them right up against there. But when you go over to this, all right, and then we go in and have, look, there's a picture in here where you'll see here. Can you see that? They're not actually pushed all the way in. It's flush down each side. Okay, and there was another photograph showing it as well, but I don't see where that's gone now. But that was the best photo that showed what I'm talking about. Well, that one there, all right? So you can see it's sitting flush there, and the photo etch railing sits straight up against it. There's nothing sticking out, okay? So what that's telling me, I think, is that this needs to sit, rather than like it is there, it needs to sit like that, at that same angle as that wall, and not back against, you see there? Not back up against that like it's showing in the instructions, like that. You want to bring that like that. Okay? It's not going to make any difference, I'm fairly sure, to how it's going to sit down on the deck, which brings me to the next thing I really should be checking. Okay, so what I've done here is I've brought the deck out and I've just positioned it on the deck where it's going to go. And what I found is that if this is in there like that, straight, like pushed up against those marks on the inside walls, then it will fit flush with that deck there. Okay, I'm just checking. Yeah, it will. But if I have it forward, it's not going to. So I would be pushing it in. I'm going to have it as the instructions say. Even though it doesn't look right, yeah, that's the way I'm going to put it in, because otherwise I'm going to have problems when this attaches to this deck here. I'm just looking at how that's going to sit there. Other than that, everything else is looking fine. I'll sit it back like it should be. All right. Okay. You know, if I'm going to have the doors open anyway, that'll change things anyway, because they're going to be sitting out like that and that. So at least I guess that's how they'll open. Anyway, there we go. So let me continue on. I'll be back in a sec. All right. So there we go. We've got those doors on where they're supposed to go by the instructions. So that's good. I've got these two platforms ready. They're just going to go on here. Just a reminder, there's a lot of photo etch to be added to this as well. We've got railings all the way around and other bits and pieces, including on these platforms. But I shouldn't have any problem doing it while they're on there. So I'll fit them. There's also some like pylons or supports that go under these platforms that we'll put on there as well. They go under here like this. There's what looks like a pipe running between the two down to the deck. That pretty much completes the sides. And then we've got all this on top, which are all the vents and everything else. And of course the doors, which we're still deciding on whether we're going to have open and close. So that's it. We're going to finish up here because, like I said, I want to let the hull dry that glue properly overnight before we attempt doing that the stern on it, and we'll get onto that. So that'll all be in the next video, part 2, guys. So thank you all for watching. This is going to be a great build. I'm really enjoying it. It's been a while since I've done a ship, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. So thanks, guys. Please subscribe if you haven't. Give us a thumbs up. Comments are welcome below. And don't forget to catch my live stream every weekend. You're welcome to jump into chat and say hello. Excellent. I'll see you all in part 2. Okay. Cheers all. Bye for now.